Good afternoon to those of you at the Cato Institute who took time to review my package and watch this video. I thought I would just record a very short introduction to myself and a little bit of an explanation behind what I have submitted for my proposal. So, my name is Richard Fritz. I'm currently an assistant professor of sociology at the University of the Bahamas, where I've been working for 9 years. That tenure has come to an end fairly mutually between my employer and myself. I earned my PhD in sociology in 2014 at Oklahoma State University, where I continued to work for 3 years as a visiting assistant professor. I also worked part-time at the local community college teaching psychology courses. And I was also doing consulting work primarily with McGraw-Hill, but also with Pearson and Norton and some other publishing firms. That was back during the rise of digital learning technologies. McGraw-Hill's is Connect, and Pearson has MindTap, and several of the big firms were competing in terms of utilizing what was essentially nascent AI at the time. It was more like personalization that you would see like on Netflix suggesting videos or with Google auto completing. Primarily, I was employed to teach other faculty how to employ those digital technologies, but I was also flown around the nation to do in-house presentations as well as online presentations. Many years later, after I continued consulting with various firms to author material, produce educational content, I helped to initiate the sociology and the news blog for McGraw-Hill and wrote a few articles there. Mainly my publications are with alternative outlets like Propaganda and Focus, and things like that, because I've had a very heavy teaching load, even while I was still a graduate student, and I've contributed significantly to service work. So I've done quite a bit of work over the years, not materializing into the traditional academic, publish or perish type of framework, which I'm not all too concerned about, as currently I am looking to get out of academia, particularly out of sociology departments, which I see largely as responsible for, if I put it diplomatically, uh, altering the cultural and institutional framework of US society in such a way that we see uh, some of the social movements that rose up in 2020 and 2015 and so forth. If I were not putting it diplomatically, I think they're destroying the nation. And this is intentionally, I think, and it's in black and white in several textbooks, even the ones that I'm assigned to teach out of currently. So I really just can't see myself continuing to work with sociology faculty. In fact, I would like to study them among social science and humanities faculty around the nation as part of an ongoing set of studies by other social scientists who largely have a debate that's confined between what we know to be ideological and partisan bias and sort of the rebuttal that basically says, well, if conservatives were smart, they would be able to be social scientists. That's straight out of a video that I have in one of my many YouTube playlists that I've developed for my various courses. What I want to do is a nationally representative survey to see what stakeholders think. So parents who are looking at or have sent their children off to college, as well as former college students, as well as a targeted survey of current faculty. And I have various means to do this with convenience sampling and purposive sampling that would be fairly easy to do with the lists that exist on the professional websites of like the ASA, the APA, and things like that. So that would be more or less, some surveys that could be hosted via telephone or mailing or online, but also in-person interviews. And I've included a budget that's relatively modest, I think, $26,000 for sampling and travel and other, software expenses, maybe a research assistant. But a lot of that, I think, I can keep under the proposed budget by utilizing technologies and my existing networks, which would be with the Association of Libertarian Educators that I helped to found in 2022. And that would have happened regardless of the NASA Institute here in the Bahamas continued working, but COVID and government regulations, of course, disrupted that. Um, so as far as my background goes, educationally, I went off to college from a very, very small rural Midwestern town in Illinois. After 8 years, I was turned into an eco-feminist Marxist, which I used to teach. I still have my PowerPoints I used to be that type of person. I discovered Ron Paul, and the rest is history. So, uh, just to demonstrate my dedication, I registered as a Republican in 2012, was a state delegate in Oklahoma for Ron Paul, risking my reputation and my career. I largely got out of politics. And at a Freedom Fest conference in 2021, I met an individual who networked me in with my colleagues who founded ALE, the Association of Libertarian Educators. And we are in the process of becoming a 501c3 organization. And I'm largely operating some of our online social media content for that. So, yeah, I'm on the job market currently. I'm ready to move and relocate. Washington, D.C. is no problem. Uh, Basically, what I would like over 2 years is to produce the best methodologically conducted and most cited study of the radicalization of higher education. On social media, people kind of love to share graphics, infographics, and data about the ideological gulf between faculty, primarily in the social sciences and humanities, but in general, and the American public. And as along with that, there have been several books that have been published in the last 5 and 10 years that have done a really good job of demonstrating, how this happened, where it came from. Primarily, Columbia University, when the Frankfurt School came to America in the 40s. Um, I had plans to write a similar book. I have a full outline and proposal that was written, but so many books came out that were essentially doing the same thing that I was going to do that I just let them have it. And more recently, I was working with a well-known individual one of whom I brought to campus as some of the many libertarian speakers to speak to our community. That went nowhere. I had previously presented with this person at the Association of Private Enterprise Education in 2019 at Atlantis. And so I've had various projects like that going on. But like I said, I have heavy teaching loads. We do all of our own advisement. I've mentored all of our senior thesis capstone courses. I do a lot of service work for the university. So, the research has sort of taken a backseat, considering that I've been on the teaching tenure track. Um, I My contract is coming up to an end at the end of July, and currently they're running the promotion exercises. So they're going to wait until after my contract expires to decide on my promotion, which is why I'm not yet an associate professor. That was a promotion package for 2017 to 2021. So the University of the Bahamas is notoriously bad with bureaucracy and that type of stuff. So, so I should be an associate professor, but what are you gonna do? Like I said, I'm not too concerned about it because I would just as soon get out of academia. I never really set out in life to be a sociology professor. It was just something that I ended up doing and became very, very good at, and have developed a lot of experience and expertise in, along with my consulting work. I had originally trained to be a survey researcher for my undergrad and my master's program. And then during my PhD program, I shifted gears into more qualitative research. And uh, then after my PhD, and after I really got into libertarianism and attended conferences, I started libertariansociology.com and a libertarian sociology Facebook page. And I kind of let that just dissipate as I developed some other interests and just, time management. But now with Ale, I'm getting much more interested in developing that further. I would love to come work for Cato. I had applied for the position to help Cato utilize AI, and that's something that I've been doing with my colleagues. On my YouTube channel, I posted my workshop that I conducted on higher education in the era of AI, which is a problem for institutions that don't want to break the 20th century mold of the dominant model of higher education. The faculty who are going to experience the pain of AI's creative destruction the most are going to hold on to that 20th century model, which just means that they have to do everything paper and pencil in the classroom. I believe that higher education needs to fundamentally transform, and there are other institutions that agree. The fact of the matter is AI is here. It's already reshaped the landscape. It's only going to become more powerful, more sophisticated, and more intimately integrated into our lives. So now is the time to sort of ride that wave into the future. And uh, practically speaking, there's sort of two angles to this. One is that if we do manage to get a hold of, or let the genie out of the bottle, the good genie. If you ever watch Marvel movies, this would be Vision as opposed to Ultron. Um, Point being is that if we have maximally truth-seeking AI that's aligned with libertarian principles, just humanism in general, but Western principles found in Western civilization, Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, that's going to cause problems for people who have been propagandizing and lying to the public. And that includes many social science and humanities educators in higher education, since they've been promoting Marx, which is a basket of lies itself, as well as nonsensical postmodernism and anti-empirical, radical theories. Otherwise, truth-seeking AI is going to be a problem for them because the students are going to have an assignment and they're already getting their AI to write everything. And if the AI is programmed to be truth-seeking, the AI cannot complete the assignment the way the professors are going to want them to complete it. So that's a big if, but let's hope for the best, plan for the worst. Um, so that's a possible solution, and I think what that can do practically is lead to a situation where we can engage in a kind of academic seasteading or academic homesteading, where we don't have to necessarily rely upon the credential, the accredited institutions for credentials, so long as we can build a network of trust among organizations that would want to hire students who have demonstrated competencies, and AI can assist in this uh, pretty effectively. It's kind of a matter of buy-in and getting people to reframe how it is that they approach something like education. And this has been a specialty of mine, having done consulting work with the publishing firms that were early adopters of digital learning technologies that were including that early nascent AI. So I've been onto this for, 13 years now. As you can hear, there's some construction going on next door. So the academic homesteading, as long as you have people who trust the credential, you don't need the accredited institution. And that's sort of something else that's coming down the pipeline for higher education outside of the whole model shift due to AI. So I think 2 years is a completely reasonable time frame to do the study of the current, public opinion, the current internal orientations of faculty, let's say, along with building this alternative framework, which really necessitates kind of the buy-in from people, I think, who are already aware of what's going on. They're dissatisfied with the ideological programming going on in higher education. They're already aware of the capabilities and potential of AI. The solution is just, how do you build a network of trust among people who still need to employ people, and they want to know that those people have actually been educated in reality, go figure, with the ability to, understand AI output, because now AI can basically do every leg of a sophisticated study. There's AI buttons in Word and Excel and everywhere else, and you can basically tell whatever program to do whatever highfalutin sophisticated study. You can do the data analysis. Now with younger people who are coming up in this, who are ignorant of the outputs and the literature and how to kind of critically engage with that material, what questions to ask is one of the most important elements. The 21st century competencies in terms of like media literacy and AI literacy basically involve getting back to Socratic techniques with the AI and the ability to comprehend the more sophisticated data driven output. The theory stuff I think has already been taken care of largely by libertarian theory on the one hand, and I'm being sincere when I say this. I think libertarian theory is, I wouldn't have chosen it if it weren't in accordance with reality. Like as a sociologist, what do we need to have a functioning society composed of free people? Well, we need peace, prosperity, love, and liberty. The love thing is a community, going back to actually the Tocqueville and so forth. So libertarianism, met all those standards. I thought Marxism did for a long time, kind of like Thomas Sowell, did. And then, reality always breaks its way through the propaganda. And so we're at a very unique time in history where people who have the ability to spot the trends of the future and assess the current state of the situation can seize on the opportunities to capitalize on what we already have at hand, as well as our expectations that AI will only become more sophisticated. And what we need on the human front are the stakeholders, so the parents, the students, the policymakers, the policy analysts, to kind of understand these dynamics. And I'll just finish with this: that education is simply what I've been involved in since I mean, my whole life at this point, but on a professional level since 2012, 2014, when I formally was an assistant professor. But healthcare and medicine, transportation, communication, and other institutions are going to be fundamentally transformed in much of the same way. Like many hospitals already are populated mainly by nurses, nurse practitioners, and then the job of the physician is basically to fulfill the credentialing regulatory apparatus and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities here, and I want to come to Cato and be a part of that. I'll just say that David Boaz was one of these people that I really looked up to and looked forward when I was making the transformation from being, kind of a full-blown lefty Marxist to really exploring whether or not libertarian was the right theory for somebody who's interested in reality and having a peaceful, prosperous, loving community of people who can freely make decisions at the individual level. And I think that's what we should be working towards. And so that's something that I appreciate particularly about the Cato Institute. So I think you should hire me. I think that I have a lot to offer, a lot of experience, and just that's the brief version. That's the brief 10, 12, 15-minute version, however long I've been talking. I've been talking for a living for many, many years now. So I'm looking forward to actually seeing something at the end of what it is that I propose, as compared to students' term papers and projects, which just get thrown away, despite my encouragement that they consider turning their projects into something worthwhile. But anyway, uh, you know, I'm sure it was nice of you to meet me. I would love to say the same back to you, if and when you decide to have an interview, which I'll be available whenever I'm on summer break. I have summer courses, but a lot of free time in the next few months. So thank you for your time.